Hey everyone, Brian Zane here, letting you know that this week's episode is sponsored by Alliance Heroes of the Spire. Finally, we have a respectable mobile RPG title. It has more than 400 unique heroes you can combine in more than 10,000 different ways. That's a lot. Now, in the two coolest game modes, you can either fight to the death against crazy giant bosses, basically your James Ellsworth against a bunch of Braun Strowmans, or you can battle real people and even your friends in PvP mode. That's good friendship ruiner. Not to mention, you can also engage in massive guild battles. Hey, you know what would be a good weapon for this game? Some kind of magical, fire-blowing spray bottle. Developers, make this happen in the next update. This alliance is way better than the one between WCW and ECW in 2001. So don't delay, support Wrestling with Regret today and download Alliance using the links below, and you'll get a massive bonus of 50,000 gold and 50 gems on the spot. Thanks for watching this commercial, gang. Now sit back and enjoy this week's countdown, which begins with a fake commercial.
Are you a recently released WWE superstar? Do you want to find a place to bounce back and revitalize your career? Well, look no further. Spend your future endeavors right here at Impact Wrestling. Since 2002, Impact Wrestling has been the home of WWE castaways who are hoping to find work on TV after spending months or years as underutilized talent. Whether you're a seasoned veteran who's past his top drawing years, or an up-and-coming young talent cut off before your prime, this is the place for you. Enjoy the lighter schedule, the sunshine of Orlando, and the constant rumors that your new place of employment could shut down for any reason. Now, we don't take just any fresh body that falls off the WWE wagon. No sir, we only hire the best talent. Men and women who are dependable, have a clean criminal record, and have no history of drug or alcohol abuse. I'm sorry, I couldn't even finish the sentence. We don't give a shit about any of that. There's no possible way you can do worse here than you did up in McMahon land. In fact, we're so confident that you'll be a big success here at Impact, we've got an unbeatable guarantee. Win your first championship in 10 months, or you get controlling interest in the company. So what are you waiting for? The opportunities are vast, and the catering is delicious. Come on down to Impact Wrestling today.
For as long as there's been more than one major American wrestling company, there have been stories of guys jumping from one to the other. That was half the intrigue of the Monday Night War, and today those stories still resonate between WWE and Impact Wrestling. When it comes to former TNA, the running joke has been that it's a haven for former WWE guys to cash an easy paycheck and get pushed over the homegrown talent. But you can't blame the company for doing that. They have to fight for ratings like anyone else, so what better way to do that than to exploit the built-in name value off of certain wrestlers? Over the years, jumping from WWE to TNA has helped veterans and younger guys alike. For example, Raven and Rhino each managed to claim one final world title, and for many younger guys, the move helped them raise their stock in a big way. This week, I'm going to rank them, the top 8 WWE wrestlers who did better once they moved to TNA. Number 8. Matt Hardy. All told, Matt did alright for himself in WWE. Along with his multiple tag team title wins with brother Jeff and MVP, he's also a surprisingly decorated singles champion, most notably his ECW title reign back in 2008. But despite all that, he'd always struggled to emerge out of Jeff's shadow. Matt first moved to TNA in 2011, but it's best we don't talk about those few months. After spending time in Ring of Honor and other independent promotions, Matt began his second stint in TNA in 2015, and things drastically improved for him. Between October of that year and March 2016, he'd become a 2-time TNA World Champion. But perhaps even bigger than the world title reigns was his memorable change in character as Broken Matt Hardy in the summer of 2016. In just a few short months, Matt became the most talked about wrestler in the country, entertaining, though occasionally angering fans with his ridiculous accent and zany cast of side characters in the Broken universe. It took a long time, but Matt finally became the Hardy everyone was talking about. The angle was so hot it gave him the surge in equity needed for the brothers to re-sign with WWE just in time for WrestleMania 33. Number 7. Mr. Anderson. Anderson. In WWE, Mr. Kennedy gained a cult following among fans for repeating his name. He seemed primed for a main event run when he won the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania 23, then got injured. Then he was in line to be Vince McMahon's illegitimate son, then he got suspended. After another injury and a scary backdrop onto Randy Orton, he was out the door in May of 2009. Kennedy made his way to TNA in January of 2010 as Mr. Anderson, debuting as the mystery opponent of Abyss at Genesis. 1 year later at the same pay-per-view, Anderson would finally accomplish the goal he missed out on in WWE, becoming TNA World Champion for the first of 2 times. He'd also be part of Aces and Eights and feud with guys like EC3 and Bram before being let go in March of 2016. Although his storylines were never as scintillating as being a McMahon would have been, his time in the company gave him a main event run he couldn't obtain in WWE. Number 6. Bully Ray. For years, Bubba Ray Dudley, or Bully Ray in TNA, was known as a tag team specialist. But what would happen when TNA did what WWE didn't really do and invest in him as a long-term singles competitor? In late 2010, Bully Ray turned on Devon during their retirement ceremony and went out on his own, soon filling Jeff Hardy's spot in Immortal. After a run that saw him feuding with guys like AJ Styles and Abyss, he set off on arguably the biggest storyline of his career, dating Brooke Hogan in kayfabe and getting into Daddy Hulk's good graces fighting Aces and Eights. He was even part of a good old-fashioned wrestling wedding. But after winning the TNA title from Jeff Hardy at Lockdown, the angle reached a dramatic turn when Bully revealed himself to be the leader of the group all along. As the new top heel in the company, Ray would fight with guys like Sting and later Chris Sabin over the championship, and before long would become a 2-time world champion. On one of his final shows as part of the Impact roster, Bully Ray would powerbomb Dixie Carter through a table, blowing up a long-standing feud that saw the heel Carter run roughshod over the promotion. He was even the general manager for the show for all of a week before leaving, but the amount that Bully Ray accomplished during his time as a singles guy breathed new life into his legacy as a performer. Nowadays, he's no longer considered just a tag team specialist. Number 5. EC3. Well, as we all saw at TakeOver Philadelphia, EC3 is signed with WWE and is now a member of the NXT roster. Talk about coming full circle. Ethan Carter III came from humble beginnings, performing as Derek Bateman during the 4th and 5th seasons of the original NXT. This is back when it was a goofy reality show and not one of the stronger shows the company's ever produced. Along with lots of other FCW talent, Bateman lingered in the seemingly endless competition for a contract before being released in 2013. He debuted for TNA later that year as the nephew of company president Dixie Carter, which immediately put him on a huge pedestal. From the start, he was feuding with the likes of Sting, Bully Ray, and Kurt Angle before finally beating Angle in June of 2015 to become TNA World Champion, a title he would hold a total of 2 times. EC3 then had rivalries with guys like Eddie Edwards, Lashley, and James Storm before beating Moose for the Grand Championship in July of 2017. Less than a month after losing that title to Matt Sydal, Carter got the pink slip from the Feaster-fired briefcase. So now EC3 is back where it all began, and it's safe to say the yellow brand is officially in... Number 4. Lashley. The idea seemed foolproof. Take an impossibly jacked young wrestler, put him in a program with the boss of the company, make him an ally of a major pop culture icon, and a star is born. Unfortunately, that's not how it worked out for Bobby Lashley in WWE. In the span of about half a year, Lashley won the ECW Championship, fought for the honor of Donald Trump at WrestleMania, and went into a feud with Vince McMahon himself. But for whatever reason, things never seemed to click with the fans like the company had hoped. 6 months after being taken off of TV for shoulder surgery, Lashley was released from the company. Lashley coming to TNA was big news in 2009, but after less than a year, he hadn't accomplished much aside from winning a Championship Series tournament to become #1 contender for the world title. He left the company to devote more time to his MMA career, which, by the way, has turned out far better than the guy everyone's compared Lashley to over the years, then returned to TNA in May of 2014 as part of MVP's Beatdown Clan. Within a month, Lashley would become the TNA World Champion, went on to hold it 4 times, tied for 3rd in all-time number of reigns. At one point, he even held all the belts before relinquishing the King of the Mountain and X Division titles. From accolades to in-ring work, Lashley has improved tremendously since WrestleMania 23. Lashley is officially wrapped up with Impact once again, and the rumors of a WWE return have been swirling ever since. Considering how much he's matured as a wrestler since the first time around, if he were to come back to the company that first made him a star, I wouldn't be against it. Number 3. Ron Killings. In his current run, R-Truth has been with WWE for a decade, making him one of the longest tenured guys in the locker room, but it seems the company has no interest in talking about the first time he wrestled for them. Truth originally debuted for the WWF in 2000 as K-Quick, named such because his last name starts with a K and, he's pretty quick, I guess? He first broke onto the scene teaming with Road Dogg, rapping their way down the ramp with a supremely dumb song.
We getting rowdy, about to move some things. Come on, come on, come on.
After only a few months of teaming together, K-Quick was forced to go it alone after Road Dogg was suspended at the end of the year and later fired. In 2001, he won the Hardcore Championship on 2 occasions for less than the combined length of about one Triple H promo, and did pretty much nothing else until his release in 2002. After a brief stint in XPW, Killings joined TNA in mid-2002. He delivered angry promos claiming he had been held down in his career due to his race. It wasn't too far off from his world title push in 2011, except slightly less crazy. Just 2 months after his debut, he beat Ken Shamrock to become the first and only officially recognized Black NWA World Champion and only the 4th Black man to win a World Championship in history. He'd go on to win the belt a second time as part of the 3 Live crew with BG, James, and Conan. He also has the distinction of being the partner of NFL player Adam "Pat-Man" Jones when the two won the TNA Tag Team Championships. So there's that. Killings would come back to WWE in 2008 as R-Truth, and the rest is history. He may have never got a fair shake in the main event scene there, but going to TNA did wonders for his overall career accomplishments. Number 2. Gail Kim. If her career began and ended in WWE, I wouldn't say Gail Kim did poorly there. She came in with a lot of fanfare, won the women's title on her first night in the company, which is nothing to sneeze at. But her release in 2004 set her on a course from also-ran to female wrestling legend. After debuting for TNA as the manager of America's Most Wanted in 2005, Kim eventually transitioned into a full-time singles competitor and would become the first ever Knockouts champion in 2007. She'd go on a feud with Awesome Kong over the championship for a long period of time, and the two helped blaze a trail for females in the company with their rivalry. Kim returned to WWE for a few years in 2008, hated it, then went back to TNA in 2011 to reclaim her place in the Knockouts division. She not only resumed her feud with Awesome Kong, but would also battle the likes of the Beautiful People, Lady Tapa, and Taryn Terrell, winning several more Knockouts championships along the way, including becoming a one-time Knockouts Tag Team champion. In 2012, she was named the top female wrestler in the world by PWI, and just 2 years ago was inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. Whereas most women in her generation would fizzle out after a couple of years, Kim's star only shone brighter up until her retirement. Before I reveal my number 1, here are a few honorable mentions. Ken Shamrock. Right from the start, the world's most dangerous man did well for himself in TNA. On the inaugural event on June 19, 2002, Shamrock won the gauntlet for the gold to win the NWA World title, the first world champ for the brand new company. After losing it to Ron Killings that August, Shamrock left the company for good except for a brief return in 2004. Winning one of the most prestigious championships was great for Shamrock, who previously had only gotten as far as an Intercontinental title reign, but the fact that he was in TNA for so little time keeps him in the honorable mentions section. Matt Morgan. I've said in the past how I never bought Matt Morgan as a top-level star, but God bless TNA, they spent an awful lot of time and effort trying to prove me wrong. After being saddled with a terrible stuttering gimmick in WWE because allegedly Vince McMahon thinks speech impediments are the highest form of comedy, Morgan went to TNA in 2007 as Jim Cornette's bodyguard, eventually going out on his own. Morgan would feud with the likes of Team 3D, Abyss, and the Main Event Mafia before winning the TNA tag titles with Hernandez. A Hernandez injury led Morgan to declare himself the sole holder of the titles, an angle he ran with for a month before losing the belts to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Morgan would be part of the Fortune stable for a time and win the tag titles with Crimson before leaving the company in 2013. Though he didn't quite live up to the hype, on sheer longevity alone, it's safe to say the blueprint did better for himself in TNA than in WWE. The Pope. On ECW and SmackDown, Elijah Burke was a charismatic young wrestler with a ton of upside, but not much to show for it in terms of any significant push. He was released by WWE in November of 2008, nearly half a year after he stopped being used on TV. In 2009, Burke was reborn in TNA as D'Angelo Dinero and immediately grabbed everyone's attention with his unique promo stylings. Though he never won a championship in TNA, he got the chance to show off more of his character that was denied in his former company. Along with fighting AJ Styles for the TNA Championship in 2010, other highlights during his time in the company include aligning himself with Kevin Nash and Sting, feuding with Samoa Joe and Abyss, and challenging for the tag titles alongside Brother Devon. He would go on to do color commentary on Impact before leaving the company last year. Drew Galloway. As previously mentioned on this channel, Drew McIntyre was full of untapped potential as Intercontinental Champion, but issues backstage prevented him from breaking through like Vince McMahon himself predicted on television. After floundering in the company as a member of 3MB, which included a clean pinfall loss to El Torito, McIntyre was released in June of 2014 and sought redemption on the independent scene. As Drew Galloway, he wrestled for ICW, AAA, Evolve, and other promotions before landing in TNA in January of 2015. By March the next year, Galloway cashed in his Feast or Fired briefcase and became the first Scottish-born TNA World Champion after defeating Matt Hardy. After suffering an injury, Galloway targeted Moose to become the third ever Grand Champion, which he only held for 5 days. But hey, it's still better than losing clean to El Torito. And the number 1 WWE wrestler who did better in TNA is a tie. Look, we all know Jeff Jarrett should be number one by default. That's a given. I mean, after he left WWF, he went to WCW, and then when that went under, he started TNA with his father, Jarrett. He became a multiple-time NWA World Champion, the King of the Mountain. He made his second wife there. I'd say he did pretty well for himself in his time in the company. But putting him at number one is just far too obvious. So who else benefited the most from that move? How about Christian Cage? For years, it always seemed like Christian had potential to be a great main event heel in WWE. After splitting from Edge in 2001, he was all over the European, tag team, and intercontinental title scenes. He got a brief taste of the main event spotlight when he and Chris Jericho fought with John Cena, but Captain Charisma just couldn't get a fair shake. Debuting for TNA in late 2005, Christian Cage made an immediate impact on programming, defeating Monty Brown to become the number one contender in December. By February 2006, he beat Jarrett to become the NWA World Champion, finally earning the recognition as top champion that seemed to elude him in WWE. Christian remained in the world title picture for much of 2006 and 2007. He excelled in big match environments, taking big but memorable risks, feuding with the likes of Jarrett, Abyss, Sting, and even his old WWE partner Tomko. He was also incredibly well protected during this time period, going a whopping 23 months without being pinned or made to submit. Christian came back to WWE in early 2009, winning the ECW and World Heavyweight titles before eventually retiring in 2014 due to concussions. But that big run in TNA as a multiple-time NWA champion showed that Christian was not only capable of holding the big gold, but thriving while champion. That's why Christian's my pick as the guy who did the best after jumping to TNA. Who else do you think did better for themselves after jumping ship? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.